Well, Suze, she works hard for the honey.
Is this another Gunner production?
It's Gunner Productions.
Welcome to the Gunners Club. Brought to you directly from the man cave. And what a good night for a fire.
It is, and what are we doing?
Hey?
What are we doing?
Well, you mean, other than the obvious, we're drinking like normal?
Well, I understand we're reviewing honey liqueurs today.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm quite concerned. I'll tell you why. It said that with 3 glasses of honey mead that you make a pact with Odin. And it seems that we've got 3 honey liqueurs here before us.
Odin, the god Odin.
It's also said that those who partake have knowledge and are able to solve any questions or any problems. So we'll see just how scholarly you are at the end of this.
Well, no, I'll save that till later.
Okay, so the difference between a mead and basically a honey liqueur like what we've got before us is that mead was probably one of the earliest alcohols that there ever was. You drink mead like you would a wine, so it's a similar sort of alcohol content, and essentially it's a fermentation of water together with honey. It's as easy as that. And speaking of such,
Our very own honey.
now when you say your very own, what do you mean by that?
We have our own beehive, our very own honeybees. Later we'll name them.
I mean, we've got the coronation coming up this weekend for King Charles. Have you had a coronation for the Queen Bee?
No, however, in my absence, I have been knighted.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, she had her sceptre and all that, and gave me the royal, whatever it is.
Well, the royal seal of approval.
Yes,
if not
that's
the royal
the one.
jelly.
No, not. Oh, I love it.
So look, here we are. We've got a couple of giants here. We've got Jack Daniels, and this one's Tennessee honey, and we've also got the Wild Turkey American honey. I would consider this a bit of a ringer in, but you actually think this is actually the champion. This is the stalwart.
Look, so far I'm 1-0, and I reckon this will be the knockout punch again.
Okay, Dubliner, I sort of understood where they were coming from when it was all about being incredibly Irish and Celtish, and you'd have frills all over the bottles embossed on the glass. And now what we've got here is something that's almost modernist. It's streamlined. It's almost like brickwork design, the way that they announce themselves.
They've changed the label. It was a little bit more classic.
Yes.
In the Dubliner range, but they have only just recently changed the label and made it a little bit more modern, as you say.
Now, I understand that what they're trying to say is this is more down to earth, more straight shooting, more down to earth, straight talking, like the people of Dublin themselves. So we'll see what we think of that when we actually try it.
I think we'll be trying it.
Okay.
More than once. Where would you like to start, my good fellow? Jack Daniels? Because that seems to be like your go-to.
I think we start as we mean to go on, and since this is the lowest in terms of alcohol at 30%, I think it would be a lighter drop, and perhaps we should start at the Dubliner.
Okay. Would you like some ice with that?
Yes, I think so.
Well,
now, I'm a little bit confused by what the Dubliner is saying that they're trying to serve us. Honeycomb liqueur. Who actually likes the comb from the honey? I noticed that Seuss, with his own apiary, has got no comb in that at all. So it's really all about the honey. Honeycomb is basically just waxy resin that's deposited and stores the pollen and the fetuses and things like that for the bees. So I'm a bit reticent about drinking honeycomb.
No, you eat honeycomb.
Right.
You eat. You consume the honey.
All right. In which case,
what's the difference?
Here it's a honeycomb liqueur. So I guess we're drinking the wax.
I'm not going to argue with their marketing, Oh, can you listen to that, eh?
That's great. You know, I should really have that sound, that glugging sound that it makes as my hold music on my phone.
Yeah.
If you try to call me and you do get that glug, 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 I've made it come true.
Oh. It doesn't take much to give me a happy ending, really. I suppose at my
No,
age.
he's very easily satisfied. And oh so often. So I mean, bags of sweetness is what I'm getting here. So what I'm looking for, I'll be honest, is a foil to go against the sweetness. You know, growing up, and the first cough drops we had really in Australia were the butter menthols.
Yes.
And you'd have the foil to the butter would be the menthol. I don't get anything here but just the saccharine sweetness of the honey.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, it might be. It might be simply because they haven't ratcheted up the alcohol volume like they have with our American friends.
However, this would be a lot easier to drink all night long. The trouble is, you could get in trouble as a result of that. Because you could drink that all night without realising that you're on your ear. Quite easily. That really is nice.
You know the Dubliner straight out whiskey
Yep.
itself is a very, very easy sipping whiskey as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you actually bringing around a bottle for me as a gift. I was surprised because I think it's the first time you've actually brought anything around at all. And he said, and here's a little something just for sipping. And you really could sip it. You could sip it all night long as well. It was as smooth as
Are you
all
sure
get out.
it wasn't this one?
No,
Really?
no, it wasn't. And it was the old design as well.
Okay.
Which sort of left me puzzled when I went to buy another bottle and couldn't find anything on the shelves that looked remotely like it at all. Because, of course, they had this whole Bauhaus industrious movement here with the graphics.
Well, so long as they only change the graphics and not the taste, I'm sold.
Sure. Now, you've got quite a collection of Irish whiskey
I do.
as well.
I do. I'm a fan of Irish whiskey, even more so than Scotch.
Yeah.
Although you are turning me to the dark side.
But it is running neck and neck now. Your love of Australian whiskies against Irish whiskey.
And there is a Scotch there, which was your first introduction to me of Scotch, where I was, oh, here we go, another one that I'll put on the shelf that I'll be serving to other people because I won't be drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had it at your place, and that was Monkey Shoulder.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how good that was. And it's a very mid-priced mainstream whiskey, and that one has staying power. It earns its keep.
So a completely different flavour profile here. We're talking about the smoothness of Irish whiskey, and if you add to that slathering, a liberal slathering of honey.
Oh yeah.
That's basically what you've got. It just goes down so easy. It's just remarkable.
Yes.
In fact, like you
Smooth.
said, it could get very dangerous very quickly.
It can.
With something like this.
I know from experience.
Now, we did have an Irish experience a couple of years ago when we went to see Mrs. Brown and her boys at the theatre.
Yes.
That was quite fantastic.
Yes, it was. For those who don't know, oh well, you should know. But if you're in America, you probably don't. Mrs. Brown's Boys was a TV sitcom series, a British TV sitcom series. Oh, it was so funny. If you don't Google it, look it up, you probably have it streaming somewhere. Great.
And for those living in Greece, I know that you have your own version of Mrs. Brown's Boys where you copy word for word the exact same scenes with the exact same actor who also played Mrs. Doubtfire in the Greek version of the movie. So there you go. And the Dutch are still making it. In fact, the Dutch have made so many copies of the episodes, they're actually writing fresh scripts because they've run out of episodes of Mrs. Brown's Boys to copy. So it's something to tune on to. A bit of fun.
I don't know how we got onto that, but there you go. We'll cover anything
The luck of
on
the
this
Irish.
channel.
The luck of the Irish is what it is.
Oh God, this is smooth.
So this is completely different to when we looked at the cinnamon liqueurs because there is no challenge here whatsoever at all. There was a matter of comparing slightly challenging to the more bold here. This as an opener, as a wicked opener.
Where are we heading to from here?
Well, I think a smaller pour for the next one, but I think I definitely want to try the Wild Turkey. Now, I understand that this was the first introduction of whiskey honey liqueur to the American market.
Is that
and
right?
I understand that was around 1976.
Really?
So probably a good 35 years before the Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey came out.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know where we are in terms of date for the Dubliner, but let's try this one first simply because of age.
Age before beauty. Is that what it said?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not a crime to be happy, is it?
You know, doing these YouTube videos, some people do it really hard, you know, and those that do it real happy. I prefer happy. Would you like some more ice, sir?
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Again, we all know where those hands have been or have successfully erased from our memory where those hands have
Or
been.
claim to have been.
So he's to you, Wild Turkey, it's the sort of label that you would happily buy at a bar and have someone over here you order at a bar.
Yes.
It's got a little bit of cachet behind it. Sort of just that little step up from your standard whiskies in Australia. And I'm not exactly sure how it's rated in America.
I'm not sure. Actually, is the Wild Turkey a bourbon or a whiskey?
That I don't know.
See, that's
I mean, so all bourbons are whiskies, but not all whiskies are bourbons. So it has to do with the age.
no, but I'm thinking if this is an Wild Turkey is an American whiskey.
Correct.
So,
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bourbon.
okay.
A peculiarity, though, with whiskey, when I went to Gaelic school, for some reason, for a couple of years,
Of course he did.
to learn my seventh language, we learnt Wishka bear is meaning the water of life. Wishka is where we get the water, where we get the word whiskey from in English. Some people say the main difference between a Scotch and an Irish whiskey is the letter E. I don't know if there's much more to it, but generally you'll find that the American whiskies are spelt with the letter E. There are some exceptions. For example, Maker's Mark will insist on not having an E because they believe that the style is closer to a Scottish style, so they won't have the letter E in Maker's Mark.
Okay, now I mean, maybe I'm not as schooled in this as you are, but I thought that Irish with the E was predominantly triple distilled, whereas the American ones are not.
That is a completely different animal. I so much prefer this to the Dubliner. I don't even know where to start. It's pronounced, it's aggressive, it's in your face, it's wholesome, it's like eating a pie. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, to answer your question, the letter E it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with how many times it's been distilled. You're right, an Irish whiskey will often be distilled 3 times, which means it's got that character smoothness. But some people would say, they'd lament, that it also strips all of the character from it. It's sort of similar to, well, at the moment I've got a demijohn of wine in Heathcote, which is just maturing slowly. And in 3 months' time, I'm going to actually introduce it to some oak. And after that blessed marriage of 6 months, I'll have some beautiful wine to drink. Now, there's 3 different oaks that I can pick. There's the French, which everyone knows about. It introduces a flavour. It's also refined. There's the American, which is very flavour intensive. Or there's a Hungarian. Now, with our background, I partially want to go Hungarian, but some winemakers say, well, actually, all that Hungarian oak does is it actually strips the unrefinements from the wine. However, I'm prepared to go with that for that simple reason.
That is so different.
It's better. You must admit it's better.
No, I don't must
come
at all.
on. Come on. Oh, he's always wearing a mask. Just so you know, sometimes I think, well, he wants to be a little bit different, and he's a little bit.
No, the word you're looking for is special.
That is an awful lot better than what the Dubliner is.
No, it is different to
because
the
it's
Dubliner.
better, because it's better, I maintain.
It is a totally different flavour profile. It is equally smooth to drink, to me, as a Dubliner. No question. Different flavour. This is honey and it says honey, and so does this. And I don't know where I got it from, and I'm not going stupid.
Promise.
But this is not only honey. What did I say it was?
Yeah, so they talk about, on the internet site, they talk about caramel. I know you talked about butterscotch. I think caramel's actually the word that they use.
Okay.
The difference between butterscotch and caramel is really the degree of sugar that you put into it. So it's almost semantics.
This has got a butterscotch back end to it, whereas this is more straight up honey.
Yeah, pleasing.
I believe.
There's no boasts of having caramels or butterscotches or anything like that that I'm aware of on this.
God, that's easy to drink. Identical to this in smoothness and in easiness to drink, but the flavour is so totally different.
It's front-ended, isn't it? But
Yeah.
actually it's like a freight train because it keeps going.
Yeah,
It hits you at the first station and at the last as well.
but it's so completely different. I would have expected them all to be very similar, but no.
So I noticed too with honeys
Wow.
where I've lived. So we've lived in Tasmania, and some of the bees that we have there are the full-on big ones, like the Walt Disney bees that you'll see in the films. They're
Bumblebee.
fantastic. Apparently they came across from New Zealand. I think someone put them in their backpack and they came across. But the honeys there are very different. Like you've got the Manuka style ones exactly like you do have in New Zealand. But then again, the honeys in Victoria that you're producing are different again.
Yes.
And different to the garden that you have, because in Sousology, if you have a look, and you really should, at some of the videos of Sous's garden, he's really grown pretty much everything as a treat for the bees. And sometimes he gets out there, I'm not sure if it's a fetishistic thing, but he's got some wonderful whites that he puts on. I think sometimes you have a round of cricket afterwards with what you've got on.
I periodically sing to them. I do, you know.
Yeah, so the honeys can be completely different. But here again, it's probably unfair because I don't think Ireland would be producing a great amount of honey. I'm prepared to be standing corrected, so they're probably importing whatever the honey is that they've got. It's lower alcohol, but you've got the addition of the wonderfully triple distilled Irish whiskey, which is always so refined, so easy to drink.
Well, I was wondering how long before you came around.
Yes, but insipid and missing flavour and everything. It's like, you want Hungarian oak? Okay, fine, but you're going to take all the flavour out. What are you doing? We don't want insipid tastes here. We want to stand for something. And remember that next time you vote.
Are you standing, are you?
The more I drink the wild turkey, the more I realise just how superior it is, in my humble opinion.
As humble as it may be. That's not bad.
It's great. That is great.
Still prefer this one.
All right, I'm an absolute convert to that. I've never tried it before.
Really?
In fact, I've never really been into honey liqueurs at all because I think I've missed out, quite frankly. In fact, I think I will look for that and buy a bottle of that. I think it's that good.
Okay.
But I have not yet tried the blow-in from Jack Daniel's.
And here I was thinking that would have been your go-to simply because you like the pretty bottle.
Yeah, I do. And I've promised today, just for you, I'm going to give you all a treat, and I'm not going to play banjo.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but, you know, my audience has called and rung in and said, please, make him stop.
Yeah, no more ties. So we do actually have those fold-up umbrellas behind the bar.
And the flamingos. We have the
We do,
flamingos
actually.
too.
Oddly enough, we do.
Yeah, oddly enough.
So Australian bees are sort of special because they don't sting. So it's a bit of a pity that what we've got now, yours wouldn't be native, would they?
No, they're not. The native bees, you're right, they don't sting. They're a much smaller variety of bee. They also produce perhaps 25% of the honey that the imported. These are Italian honeybees.
And I understand the Australian ones are unionised as well, is that right? And they don't call their leader a queen. She's actually, I think she's president, isn't she? So what do we get? What do we get out of this?
That is completely different to the other two.
Yeah, we're splitting,
I can't
we're splitting
believe
the difference
that-
between the two, though, aren't we? We're splitting the difference.
This is woody
Yes, it
on
is.
the nose.
And on the palate too. It's more a sticky, clinging, prolonged taste. It's more... this is the butterscotch. This is where the butterscotch comes in.
I can't believe that there
It's lingering. It's persistent. It's almost a honey toffee is what it is.
But a honey toffee with burnt wood undertones.
Yeah. I think they've spent some money developing this. I think they've thrown a whole lot of sugar in it too, because I'm getting a lot of burnt sugar off this, but I'm also getting a little bit of wood as well. Can I say that on YouTube?
He's getting wood.
For my money, on first blush, that's a legal term.
Yes,
Just
it
thought I'd
is.
throw that there.
I heard that.
What we do is we give that to Elon Musk and he puts it on SpaceX and it goes and we pick between these two. Something which is really sugar driven, I mean talking really sugar driven, is a Jack Daniels. For me, if you want something which is more honey profiled, I'd go for the wild turkey. Now, talking turkey and talking to turkeys.
Yes. In all honesty, I like them all. But if I am to pick, I know you're going to find this outrageous, I still go with the Dubliner.
I understand that he aims to shock. And I did insist on his wardrobe before we came on because you should see what he did want to wear. But
He
let's
said
get
the
real.
tutu was right out.
But let's get real. It really is between these two. In fact, that's not even in the same passage.
You realise you left the door wide open for... But
Well, it's
you
really
notice-
my job. It's really my job, sis, isn't it? Because come on, I'm the straight man. You know, there's a Laurel and there's a Hardy. And you need someone who actually does some preparation before he comes on. And then
Why?
someone who plays the... Well, to be the foil to your shtick, I guess.
Stick.
Yes.
Oi, mate.
Hi, Mum.
I honestly did not believe that there's that much difference in the three of these. Keep in mind, I've had all these. These are part of my bar, okay? I've got all of these in the bar. I may have had a taste of them as a once-off
Yeah.
by itself, but not as a comparison like this. And this actually makes such a big difference when
It's
you
a
compare
revelation.
them side
It's
to
a real
side.
revelation,
Yes, it
actually.
is.
From my take, I didn't expect that much quality in this. We're not talking about expensive spirits. We're talking about
No.
sugar-laden, honey-driven taste profile. What do you expect? It's going to be single profile. Except it's not really. The Jack Daniels, you could say, is so sugar-laden that it is, but actually it's not, because it actually does taste like they put some money towards that as well. And the American honey, I find it just an outstanding drink. The Dubliner, you've got the smoothness of the Irish whiskey, but it's not in the same running, if that's what you're after. If you're after a cheap whiskey, we'd go for a Scotch. But if I had to go for an Irish...
Like a
Dubliner
Johnny
certainly-
Red.
No. If we're talking about that, do what the Scots do and buy famous Gruce, because in Scotland, the most bought cheap Scotch is the famous Gruce. It's not Johnny Walker at all. So just to answer that question. But don't kid yourself.
Happen
Don't
to
put
have
your
some.
money in that.
Don't put
Yes,
your...
you do.
What did you just say?
Don't put your money in that.
You're not appearing on my videos again, you know that.
Well, that's a relief.
That wasn't what I was expecting.
If you like what we do, if you want to see more of what we do, and we have a lot of fun and we're glad you're part of what we do, what do they have to do?
What do they... Oh, well, to start with, okay, I can make a list, but primarily, like, subscribe, comment down below.
Yes, please comment down below. You know we like that. Even if you think that, oh, Andrew, what he says is just garbage.
Because, you know, when you're not around, we laugh at your comments, and that's great too.
I don't have much to do with my time.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Catch you on the next one.